So I cleared that with the professor. It was probably the lamest of the submissions, because it had nothing to do with, there was an internet component to our bank. We would have a website. But other than that, there was very little to do with hot, sexy new ideas on how to do commerce online. So it was, I had to actually get some reluctant students who hadn't migrated to other types of proposals. I think one was a guy up at Abbott Labs, another at Motorola. So I had this kind of makeshift team, and we set off and put this 70-page business plan together. So now, fast forward to the 10th year and 10th week, and it's Professor Meyer, and he invited not only a couple of his older venture capital cronies, he invited a couple of younger guys too, black T-shirts. I think these were the new age venture capitalists of their time. This is 12 years ago. So off we go, and the presentations begin. And the first two presentations were, in fact, some form of internet businesses, and the professor led the charge in the hostility at the presentations, because they found them woefully lacking any form of feasibility. But this could never work. It was, you could buy the thing at Walgreens, or it was, totally, there was no intellectual, protection to it. It was, these were older guys trying to, see some way of how this would all make sense in a pure online kind of construct. And remember, the students chose the online nature of the construct. It wasn't imposed on them as only internet plans. So it was just that time in the economy. So the best and brightest minds, after a couple of rather blunt and I don't want to say hostile, but rather discouraging kind of reviews, kind of trudge back to their desks, and it's a disaster in graduate school to think about getting a fee or something. So now it was my turn to present our rusty old business model, a very old concept. In fact, Kellogg, much like many schools today, have many foreign-born students attending, so they couldn't understand at all that you can do what? You can pull together capital to start a bank. I mean, in the countries they may have originated from, banks were state creations, controlled by central governments. So, but our plan was, in fact, to start a community bank out in the suburb of Lisle here in Illinois, and we went through the steps on how this would take place. So maybe the first thing I would share with you is that entrepreneurship and business planning is not necessarily about invention. It's not sitting at a kitchen table with a soldering iron and some components, and Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs sitting around saying, let's start a PC, let's build one, sell it. It oftentimes has to do with taking existing concepts, maybe rearranging them a little differently than others have done before, and the most important word, I suppose, afterwards would be execution. I'll give you one other little analogy I've stuck with over the years. We had a basketball player in Chicago named Michael Jordan for a while, and Michael Jordan was a gifted athlete, and he could dunk a basketball pretty amazingly. So if Michael Jordan was to tell us tonight how he dunks a basketball, he could actually tell us the strategy. You dribble the ball, launch yourself from about the free throw line, high above the rim, elbows above, slam it down this way or this way. He could tell us how it happens, much like you could say in a business plan how it would happen. But can you do it? Can you actually execute? So what I've been looking for in the last 5 or 6 years of business planning is, am I convinced that these business planners can actually execute on what it is they're proposing to do? And that, we'll talk more about what it takes to get that execution or that convincing. But I think that was the most important component for one of the things I learned along the way. Back to my story, so we're presenting our business plan. I'm up in the PowerPoint presentation like this, and we had about 10 or 11 minutes, and then there was some question and answer period. So after presenting my case for this new community bank out in Lisle, Illinois, I asked if there would be any questions. The room was filled, and there was not a sound. There was no questions. The professor was looking down, and everybody's kind of quiet. I thought, well, that's a strange reaction. Maybe it's so bizarre that you can't even generate a question. So I didn't know what to make of that. So I kind of